Depends how early you want to build your paladin. That's more of a preference thing when you build your paladin. So I kind of feel like he stuck his archmage in there for a little too long. I guess he was trying to get the second water elemental off. I'm not sure, but he could have snagged a little extra experience for his MK. It still hits level 2, so it's not that big of a deal. And getting level 2 isn't as big of a problem, or getting level 3 with your second hero, that's where the level 2 came from in my mind, isn't as big a problem as getting your third hero to level 3, which is a huge issue, especially on a map with very limited creeps. So as I said, the playstyle in Ancient Isles and Secret Valley and stuff is pretty similar to one you'd use on other maps. So what he's going to do is he's got this flying machine around, so he's going to scout out what kind of build his opponent is doing. Obviously smart play, and he's going to lose some footies, which is a bummer, because the Lich comes out with an orb. So he does lose those creeps, and that's a pretty pivotal creep to have because you can actually pick up an invuln pot and stuff before your opponent. I usually do that while I'm creeping it, but I guess he didn't bother because he didn't have the money. I don't know why he didn't actually do it. And I'm not sure why Night End isn't finishing off the creep, because that's a nice little level for... I don't know. I thought that was bizarre. And once again he's creeping with his Archmage. I believe that's a bad move on his part. There we go, now he pulls it out. So, in Thorzane's perspective and playstyle, he's pulled out a fairly early Paladin, I thought. I usually do it when I have some sort of advantage, so I can actually creep it up, or maybe pick off some units. Like if they try and get out of their base and creep something, you can rally jack and level up your hero that way. And it's a pretty safe thing to do, but I don't know, that's just my playstyle. So he's continuing to get a bunch of flying machines. He's expecting a Destro push, and the reason he's expecting a Destro push is because there's a slaughterhouse and a crypt. The only thing you want to be aware of is how many of the how many statues he gets out, because the amount of statues will actually dictate what he's planning to do. Because if he gets 3 statues, obviously he's going to get a destroyer or 2. That's a no-brainer right there. So I believe he's going to fight this because he has militia on his way. On its way. So I believe he does something stupid here. I could be wrong though. It could be a different point of the replay. So he kills the sheep, and this is why what he did was completely stupid. He sent his Archmage in first, got it in such a horrible position. Basically, that's like the dumbest thing you can do. Is, hey, well, your #1 target priority is going to go in first while you still have full mana on all your heroes. That's something you want to avoid. So when you're fighting an undead with this kind of army, what you want to do is you want to keep your paladin and your archmage away from that firepower that he has with the fiends and the focus fire. And you want to be able to spread out your heroes a little bit so they don't get silenced. The main one you don't want to get silenced is your paladin. The MK, that's fine. Like, oh no, I stalled my bolt for an extra 5 seconds. That's not really a big deal, but not being able to holy light your heroes when you have to, that is a very big deal. So you'll notice he's keeping his paladin and his archmage away. Both of them are out of range of silence, because obviously the undead player wants to silence the Mountain King so he doesn't lose a lot of fiends. And the militia are playing the role. Unfortunately, he doesn't get that surround on the statue, or on the hero for that matter. But yeah, basically, you sort of want to focus down as many fiends as possible. You want to get up in their face as much as possible without losing your heroes, or getting your heroes in bad position. And like you'll see, one of the fiends got cut up like butter, and that's pretty much what you want to go for. He's ignoring the abominations, that's a pretty important point as well. And silence goes off. As I said, Paladin's the one you don't want to get silenced, so he could lose his hero, which sucks. I Oddly enough, Night End went for the Knight, so he gets to staff it out without losing too much. And Paladin has enough for another Holy Light, so the Archmage is safe once again. So, basically, when you're fighting these battles, ignoring the Abominations is important. They're not a huge source of damage output because they're not part of the Focus Fire army that he has. Now, this is an odd move by Night End. I mean, I don't know why he put the Orb of Corruption on his DK. If someone can explain... Oh, he's just doing it to creep. Good, I was thinking for a sec. I was pretty sure the Orb was on his Lich for the battle, but if he didn't... If you just switched it for the creep, that's not a big deal. He is forced to TP, though. That's an important point. You may be thinking, oh, lucky creep jack, but if you consider where they were battling and what has been crept out, you can pretty much assume that the lab has been crept out, because most people will creep that out by tier 2. So knowing sort of general creep patterns is important for, like, knowing the other races' general creep patterns, so you can actually get some creep jacks here and there. Sacrificial pick going up, and you'll notice his scouting. He's scouted out the Temple of the Damned. So he's immediately put up a second workshop. I think he put up the second workshop a little earlier. I think he was just guessing, but I'm not sure. Either way, he puts up a second workshop. He's going to be doing some mortar teams. And basically, creeping out some more of his opponent's creeps. This allows you to, if you get some sort of advantage, he won't be able to creep within the confines of his base. And by that I mean, like, if you TP and you're in a bad position, you're going to stay as close to your base as possible so that you don't lose anything. Nice bash. And it gets away. That's too bad. So now that he's forced 2 TPs, his expo's pretty much going to go up safely. The timing of the expo was basically, I forced him to TP, and he really doesn't have much in terms of units. And I still have a bunch of knights. So I'm going to expo. Well, you can't stop it. And what this allows you to do is either force your opponent out of their base to try and stop the expo, or you force them to sort of turtle up and hope they get hit. So there are ways to take advantage of each. If they go to hit your base, obviously you have the you sort of have an army advantage. It will be a little difficult because you spent a lot of money to put up the expansion, obviously. So it's kind of a little bit of a steep battle, but you also have the militia close by, so you can fend it off if you have enough of an advantage. If you don't have an advantage, don't set up an expo. That's just pretty obvious. So now what he's going to do is basically turtle his expo, because this is basically what's going to clinch him the game, obviously. Because when you're playing a game, the first thing you want to think of is, okay, how am I going to win this? Well, obviously Thorazane has gone, well, I want to get enough of an advantage to set up an expo, and then sort of try and dry him out from there, and win from the 80-foot push. Because basically what an Undead will do, or any race will do, is if they're at a steep enough disadvantage, they're going to sit in their base until they can break upkeep, maybe unsummon a couple buildings when their gold mine runs out, and then sort of push you at 80 food. So they're going to try and use the upkeep to their advantage. That's pretty much the best way to go about it if you're sort of losing the game. So that's what he's going to do. Obviously Thorazane is aware of this because he has the flying machine, so he can tell where his opponent is.